What is going on, everybody? Thanks so much for tuning into this soul mapping astral weather report for the month of February. This is my first live monthly astral weather report. As you all may know, that at least have tuned into my astral weather reports before, I've kind of made some shifts. I haven't been doing the daily report. I just really had to tune into my body and my authority and listen. It was just a little bit too much for me to manage. And so I've decided to shift over to this monthly astral weather report. I'm going to be going through a lot of different themes and transits and tune into some really cool, interesting stuff. We have a massive month of February that we're already a couple days in. I had some big things going on the past couple days with new developments in our business and a lot of stuff to prepare for. So I'm tuning in to share with everyone here on the 3rd of February, and I'm really excited to dive deep into some of these codes and charts. I have so much to share. This is such a huge month. So I'm just going to go ahead and get into some of these charts and we're going to see what's going on. For starters, though, before I do kind of just tune into the charts and some of these transits and themes that we have going on, for those of you that may not quite understand the astral weather report, or maybe it's your first time tuning in, you want to know a little bit about what's going on, this is where I synthesize astrology, the I Ching, human design, gene keys, and a little bit of my own Akashic intuitive wisdom, just kind of like tuning into my own personal authority and channeling some information from my own higher self. And so I'll explain a little bit about this, how this works. So what we have here typically is just the standard astrology chart, of course. These are all the different planets and the positions that the planets are in and the aspects that they're making in the typical astrology chart. Now, what this synthesis is that we're talking about, I'm going over here and I provide the link to this page if you want to check out this chart that I'm looking at here. But this is a page from our website, soulmapping.life. And this shows here the standard kind of human design chart, or the soul mapping chart that we have here. And this is the body graph. And if you do want to get your own body graph, if you've never checked it out before, you can go to Jovian Archive. They give it out for free. You can also go to genekeys.com and they have their own chart that works with these 64 codes or 64 hexagrams. Now, what's going on here, and how this relates to this other chart that we see here on astrotheme.com, is as you see around here, we have these 12 zodiac signs that we're probably familiar with. If you're checking this out, you're probably familiar with the zodiac signs, and these are all the different constellations, but they're in Western astrology, they're directional based, so they're not in exact alignment with the real sky. So if we go over here to this chart, as you can see, it's a little bit faded, but you can see these same astrological symbols that are around this body graph. And so in these systems, what we do is we actually take two separate different calculations, the birth date and then 88 degrees of the sun, and this creates this triangulation of charts that we have here. And so what's going on here is the planets and the different astrological bodies, the different bodies of the cosmos, they move around through these different codes that we have here. These different codes correspond to the 64 archetypes within the human genome, within our DNA. Some really amazing and intuitive people figured this out quite some time ago, and then what was discovered and synthesized in human design and the gene keys system, and now of course in soul mapping and the astral weather report, is that these codes are permanent fixtures around the zodiac. As you can see here, the codes don't move. What moves are the positions of the planets, these filters. They move around through these different codes, causing filtration of the neutrinos. Neutrinos are the smallest particle really that we're aware of that moves just below the speed of light. And what happens is we're kind of in this constant communication, breathing in and out. We send neutrinos out into the universe, and we are sent neutrinos by the sun and the moon and the earth and the different planetary bodies. So this is kind of like breathing action going on. And the way that this works here is, I'm going to use an interesting example that we have here. So this is like a magnetic motor that we have here, right? As you can see, there's these different coils that move the electrical energy around this magnet, and this causes all of this energy to move around and spiral, causing energy to be generated and able to be used and harnessed for different things. So as you can see, these even look similar here to these different hexagrams that we have around the outside of the chart that we're going to be going into some of the aspects. So basically what happens is, like in a motor, we have these magnet or these filter type energies that are moving around, causing the spiral spinning action up through our DNA, because like I was saying before, these codes correspond to the codons of our DNA. And so when we're born, we have this certain kind of like imprint from these planetary bodies that causes our genetics to work in this unique way. And it causes this kind of like reflection or breathing in and out pattern, working synchronistically with this kind of like organic machine that we're in, that we call the human body. And then there's this fractal type energy that goes up and out into the universe. And it's all this very harmonious type system of like a motor. And then we have, of course, as these planetary bodies in their corresponding codes within us, our organs and our glands and the chemicals in our systems, they all work in this kind of like unified organism where we have our own codes, and they're responding kind of like almost like an organic computer to the planetary body's motion throughout the universe. And ours, it's kind of this like, we have this back and forth motion going on. The planets aren't causing things within us, and we're not causing things within the universe. It's kind of this mutual relationship that we have going on, just kind of like cells in our body, and we're cells in this greater body of the universe, right? And we're all trying to harmoniously align to the collective energy. And that's the really powerful thing about these systems, is by tuning into these astrological codes and transits that we have going on, we can see how we're going to internally experience a lot of these codes and shifts of the energies within ourselves, in a lot of the mutations that are going to be going on. So that being said, I hope that's a decent download that I've done for all of you guys on how this works. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump over into some of these codes and explain some of the transits and the different aspects that we're going to be going through, some of the themes, because February is just such a huge month. So I really want to tune everybody in. I have been doing this as like a paid monthly report, and I've decided, since I'm no longer doing the daily, I'm just going to be switching over for a while to give this monthly report away for free and see how that all kind of feels. So today we have, of course, this is the chart for Sunday, February 3rd. That's today. And what we have the sun over here on the 13.2, and that's in, of course, opposition to the earth, is going to be over here in Leo on the 7.2. And the sun today actually is in a detriment position on the 13.2. And what this is about is, the 13.2 is feeling like we're trying to kind of like balance leading ourselves and or others, and being able to really empathize and listen on a deep level with others and what they're going through, despite the fact that they may not quite connect with all of our ideas, our beliefs, perhaps feeling some sort of separation due to this code is called kind of bigotry, but like not necessarily just in like the race sense. This is also in the sense of people not connecting due to ideology or gender, or just ways of doing things. The seven, where the earth is all about really leading ourselves in this new direction that we've been experiencing and being kind of called to from the universe. We also have Mercury is sextiling Jupiter. We have Mercury on the 13.5, of course, very close to, sorry about that, I want to get rid of this explanation there. The 13.5, we have Mercury on here in the sextile to Jupiter on the 26.2. And I think we're really looking objectively right now at how we can kind of correct some of the past mistakes in our lives, develop solutions for perhaps marketing or branding ourselves, this new direction. We're really trying to get our message across and get it out there, and to be able to help the most people. And we're trying to correct any patterns maybe that we've had around not being able to listen to the universe or others and see kind of those messages that the universe is sending us, and being able to kind of correct some of those patterns in new ways so we can get that message out to the most amount of people. Finally, we've had this big sextile going on between Neptune and Saturn over here in Capricorn. And this has been this kind of like calling that we've felt to really go on this massive sort of spiritual mission, or kind of like a higher calling in our life. We've all been feeling this pull to kind of like jump out on this mission. And with Neptune coming off of this sextile right now, this is like saying, okay, it's really time to jump onto the new path, or not. We can almost kind of like be left behind right now in a certain way, to just kind of like watch from the sidelines if we don't take this leap that's being called forth from the universe. Neptune's moving off this sextile, so we're going to feel a major shift in that energy as we're going into this week, where we're either going to take the path or not. Finally, we have Venus that's moving into a conjunction, or sorry, moving into a semi-square with Saturn. It's going to be approaching this conjunction later this month that I'm going to get into. Very powerful transit that we're going to be going through. I think we're taking time to ourselves with this because maybe we feel unable to really kind of fully connect with others. Venus is on the 10.2 approaching galactic center right now, and the semi-square is, kind of like a little bit difficult energy for Venus. We're really wanting to connect more, but maybe we don't quite feel like we do, so we're kind of just getting into ourselves and kind of just being able to figure out how to tap into our energy so that we can lead ourselves on this path that we're being called to. Finally, Saturn does hit a conjunction with Vertex today. And this is sort of turning point we have going on right now. Saturn is conjunct this on the 54.1. Saturn's just moved on to the 54.1. It's been on the 38 for a while. So this is, of course, a big turning point in itself. And the 54 is really all about like our ambition, the drive that we have to move forward, to create a new structure, to really create something solid for ourselves. This also has to do with maybe taking on some sort of like behind the scenes ally that's really going to help us get ahead into where we want to go. Not somebody maybe that we're going to be so public about, but just some sort of connection maybe that we have behind the scenes that we're going to work with to create something new and better for ourselves. I'm going to be cruising through some of these charts. I'm using this Astro theme here because it is the easiest for me to just kind of click ahead and forward through in some of these charts. So, if you ever want to check out some of these interesting transits, just daily charts and things like that, if you're interested to dive more and see what's going on, Astro Theme does work great for that. For just, I don't recommend it for the birth chart so much, but it's a great tool to just kind of look at the daily transits. So February 4th, Monday, we have the new moon. That's going to be super powerful. We have the new moon that's going to be in Aquarius. Of course, that's where we have this conjunction with the sun. And this is interesting. I think this is going to be a really powerful new moon because, of course, it's on Monday, which is Moon Day. We have the sun on the 13.3, and this is still in detriment, and it's opposed to the Earth on the 7.3. I think this could be a day where we really just want to kind of say F it all, like F the system. Really, the Leo King did a great report this month. They tuned in. I highly recommend everybody tune into that if they want to dive deep into some of the kind of like history with some of the transits that we're going through. Chiron is at the end of Pisces, about to go into Aries, and this is a huge transit that we're going through into this month. There can be some really crazy stuff that we experience in our lives, in the world in general. Pisces at the 29th degree going into Aries. There's been some powerful historical things that have happened around this area. I'm not going to be able to get into all those things, but I recommend checking out the Leo King's report if that's something that you want to dive into. But this is going to be a powerful shift that we have. I'm going to dive into the code that we're going to experience this on, so you can kind of tune into how some of this is going to come up. But I'm bringing that up because this is also contributing to this energy that we have of almost like a revolutionary type of energy. And I'm calling this report this month the inner revolution because of course, if we're in a reactionary state with some of these codes, we can kind of like blindly react to different emotional energies and traumas and conditioning that we have in our life. But this is really about transforming our relationship to those chemical reactions and mutations that we have going on in our body. And so what I'm saying is Monday could be a day where we kind of just say, F it all. There's no way to change any of it. We're never going to be able to live up to what we really want or what we're striving for. We could kind of come up with this sort of like ideal. We're very sensitive. The 13 is all about like empathy and really be able to listen to the universe's message. But what this is about is like, we can kind of be going through this tough like inner healing crisis of where we're like, I just can't do it. I'm never going to be able to live up to that standard. So just want to say kind of fuck it all. And just like almost like an anarchical type of energy that's just really could be kind of destructive. I think the way that we can take advantage of this energy is that this new moon is going to be a really powerful time to plant some seeds for the vision of a much higher ideal in our life. This ideal is coming in, and I think what we're saying F it to is better to kind of say fuck it to like just falling back into those patterns and really reacting blindly to some of these emotional states. I think we really want to capitalize on this energy. And this is a powerful time to kind of like tune into ourselves, go deep, like psychologically, and implant those seeds internally into our subconscious so that those things can kind of come to fruit later on this month. This is like, and I'm going to be getting into some ways that you can do this later on in this report. I have something really special planned for you all. So I highly suggest keeping tuned in. This is going to be a great way that you all can tune in to plant some of these seeds. But basically what I'm saying here is that we're looking for like a higher level of value for ourselves in our life and our uniqueness in this new direction that we want to go on. And this is going to be a powerful time to plant some of those seeds and those visions. That's kind of like the blessing in saying like, fuck the system here is just seeing that the true power in the collective, being able to unite via our differences in all this. Stop trying to like do things that we're not meant to do here, just getting into our mind and the mental system that comes along with the programming and conditioning where we think that we have to take care of everything or come up with this vision of what we want life to be like, when really it's about tuning into our uniqueness, what we're good at, and planting the seeds to be able to really harmonize with other people in our life and our world in the collective and allow them to do what they're good at and just tune into what we're uniquely good at. Finally, we have Pallas Athene here. This is going to be where we have here. Pallas Athene here is over in Libra and it's at the 29th degree. And this is going to be opposed Uranus. So this, the asteroids are lesser tuned into aspects of astrology, but they used to be on the same par with a lot of the major planets. They were the goddesses, where the major planets were considered the gods in Greek and Roman mythology. And so, me personally, I think with this new kind of feminine ruled era that we're moving into, the asteroids are extremely powerful to these inner transformative states that we're going through. And with Pallas Athene on the 50.3 opposed Uranus on the 3.3, whose Uranus is ending its cycle here in Aries, which is another powerful thing that we're going on. Chiron's at the end of Pisces moving into Aries. We have Mars that's about to come into conjunction with Uranus later this month. So powerful energies moving us to kind of like step up our identity and really move forward to some higher levels in who we are. And I think what this is asking us to do is adapt our unique visions to what's really working in our life. The 50 is all about finding value and honing in on those values. And this is kind of like we're in this process of bumping into what's working. Being on the point 3, this is all about putting energy into certain things and being like, that's not really working. Okay, I'll just kind of keep going and moving and see what's the next thing. Where's the energy flowing in our life? This is what's really being asked of us on so many levels, is where is the energy flowing well? let's put more energy in that direction rather than kind of like trying to tune into our mind and go, well, it doesn't look as pretty as I thought it should, or this is not what, my parents told me I should be like, or society. It's about where's the energy going? Now, how can we adapt our uniqueness, this higher identity that's being called? How can we adapt our where the energy is flowing to that identity, or how can we adapt our identity to kind of like fit where that energy is flowing in very unique ways? It's like, for example, I've found that one of my strongest skills in the world is video. I'm extremely good at kind of crafting these creative videos. I'm going to be showing a really good one in a little bit here. And so I'm realizing that, maybe not to go into some of these other areas so much. I think that I have to do like all this promotion on social media. Everybody says, post every day and do this and that. And it's like, that's just in my mind. I'm not here to do those things that I'm not passionate about, that I'm not comfortable about. I just need to put my creative energy into what I'm good at and kind of like adapt this new higher vision of who I am to those skills that I already have, where the energy has already been flowing and where it's so well received, right? And Palace-Athene is all about wisdom. So this is about adapting that inner wisdom we have, that inner transformation to what's really valuable in our life. Now, next thing I'm going to move over to is the 7th and 8th. So let's just go ahead. I'm not going to be tuning in too much to the 7th and 8th here, but we have a powerful sextile going on between the Sun, which is over here in Aquarius, sextile to Jupiter in Sagittarius. And this is really powerful couple of days that we have here. Sextiles are really supportive aspects. And I think what this is saying here is, because the sun is moved on to the 49th code, and this is a powerful, strong theme for this month is the 49th code, and that's going to be part of this kind of like special tune in that I have for you guys here in a little bit, why I'm calling this month the inner revolution, because this is the theme of the 49th code. Now, what we have with this sextile is, the sun's going to be on the 49.1. It's going to be starting this transit, sextiling to Jupiter on the 26.3. And this could be an excellent time to kind of like start our own personal revolution of sorts, like an internal revolution where we're really stepping up to the plate of transformation and really bringing ourselves to this higher level and vision of adapting what I was talking about, kind of like adapting our unique vision, transforming those inner like shadows into a fuel that can really create a better world for ourselves and also create something much better for the collective as a whole. Because Aquarius that we have here, there's so much energy in Aquarius right now. And of course, Uranus rules Aquarius on the 29th degree, bringing us up to this higher level so that we can kind of go on our own creative, unique path, bringing about this new world that's being created at this time to all of us that are kind of like global change makers and been going through this transformation right now. And what this is asking is for extreme adaptation and going through this inner revolution to really gain support for our brand or a message, launching a project. Going to be a great day to really get some support on whatever it is that we're working on. And so this is like a great day to launch some sort of project or get your message out there, anything like that. Definitely tune into that day if you can, if things are ready. Of course, don't strain yourself or go out of alignment in any way, but definitely a great day to do something like that. So then we're going to go ahead here to February 10th. I'm going to close this down. Thing keeps getting in my way. February 10th. Okay, so February 10th, definitely big day. Of course, the sun has moved over here to the 49.4 here, opposed to the Earth on the 4.4. And what this is about is we need to take a look at maybe like where we're lying to ourselves about our true power in this life, in this world. This is the 49. We're talking about that inner revolution. Where are we just kind of lying to ourselves about where we maybe are giving away our power to certain inner stories? Kind of, the 4 where the earth is all about these stories and traumas that we built up over our lives, where, we're conditioned by society and we experience these things when we're younger, where it's like, these stories come in where we experience like maybe we didn't feel like we were good enough at something, and then we add emotional energy into that to kind of like solidify that into our identity. And we need to look at what are the facts really? What's reality? Is this true, or is this kind of like story that we're playing out in our mind? Where can we really transform our stuck patterns of just kind of like blindly reacting unconsciously to traumas? And where are we kind of maybe like faking it a little bit, where it's just this story that we're telling ourselves, but this is really looking at like where are we just faking it to like kind of go with emotions and maybe doing something that we're not passionate about, so it's not really excelling. Where can we drop those things again and move that energy into where things are flowing and go into our own power and really come from that place of sovereign energy? Where can we capitalize on our emotional energy to show us truth about ourselves and who we are, and also be able to see potentially where we can change major imbalances in our lives? Of course, we have Mercury, which is going to be entering Pisces. So this is where things are going to get a little bit like, we have Chiron on the 29th degree, Mercury coming into Pisces, Neptune's in Pisces, a lot of Piscean energy, and this could be advantageous, but this can also be kind of some deep and murky waters. Pisces is such a beautiful, creative, dreamlike energy, but it also has its very kind of like dark and confusing aspects to it. Now, Mercury enters Pisces on the 55.1, and this is asking us to really take a look at where we can work together to create a higher order or freedom through cooperation for our lives. The 55th code, where Mercury is going to be going on to, is all about freedom, freedom from those victim patterns that we have, and where can we get out of our victim patterns and really synergize in a cooperative way with other people, so that we don't feel like a victim. We're not in this alone. We are in a collective body, like I was talking about at the beginning. It's like, where can we work together with other people to really harmonize with that? We have Mars and the Moon in a conjunction over here in Aquarius. This is a lot of energy on this code, right? So what's this all about? Well, Mars is going to be on the 3.2, the Moon is going to be on the 3.3, and so is Uranus. This 3.3 has been big this month in human design. If we go back over to this chart here, we have the 3 and the 60. This has been active for a couple months now. It's this powerful energy asking us to reorder our reality, reorder what we're being given, and give a certain sort of, the 60 down here in the root. This is this powerful root energy, very mutative aspect that we've been going through for the past couple of months, really asking us to reorder and structure society as a whole, but work within the current limitations we have, work within what's being given to us, and really innovate and bring out a higher order and a higher level. This is a very powerful root adrenal energy, moving into a sacral energy. This whole channel's been defined now for some time. We're finally going to move out of this as we get into like the 20th of February or so. Be tuning into that in a bit. But this has been this powerful root energy that we're having. We're like, I need to get everything done. There's so much on my plate. I don't know. This is just crazy. And this is, asking us to reorder and restructure our life in powerful ways. And this is the powerful mutation that's been coming in, really bringing us this higher level of identity. Uranus is all about ascension. Mars is asking us to take action on it. Mars is also this powerful adrenal energy. So much stuff going on this third code, asking us to really innovate, powerful messages, asking us to really trust what's coming through, powerful psychic insights, unexpected shifts onto new paths. Where can we adapt the journey to the next level, to this higher order? Where is the ground most fertile, and where can we adapt to that? So more messages saying like, where's the fertility in our life, right? The 3 is all about looking at what we have in the environment and creatively playing with it, right? This isn't about like, necessarily looking beyond where it's like, I talk about this a lot. This is like having a whole palette of paints and just sitting there and going, well, I'm not going to paint the picture because I don't have blue and I wanted blue. Well, you have green and you have red, maybe make a new color, maybe, experiment and just look at this whole life as a sort of like game or a play that we're in. And we're really being asked powerfully to adapt to this adventure of life that we're on. Mercury, of course, is going to be in a semi-square to Saturn as well. So this is, kind of a more difficult energy. I think we want to be mindful not to fall into victim patterns or greed. The 54, where Saturn is in its detriment or shadow state, is all about greed. And we're being asked to transform that kind of greed into where we're synthesizing more with the collective. Really, it's like, can we trust that the universe is bringing us everything that we need at every moment and really synergize with other people and not be so greedy about kind of like taking on where we want to do everything? How can we cooperate with others so we can kind of like share in the abundance? And this is that higher level of ambition. And this is a really powerful, transformative, kind of like a Kundalini energy where we drop that mental ego body and we can see ourselves more as like a collective organism. Next, we have Neptune is now on the 63.5. So this is a new shift. It's been on the 63.4 for some time. And I think what we're starting to see, and this is, you know, we're starting to see how all of these things that we've really had doubts about and confusion about and everything that we've been looking at within ourselves is really starting to come together. This is like looking at, in our past life and starting to see, oh, that's why this happened. That's why I met these people here. That's why I've gained these skills. That's why, that's why things are unfolding the way they are because now that Neptune is moving off this sextile with Saturn, we're starting to kind of like take our steps on this journey. This is like, this imagine like Frodo in The Hobbit. He's starting to go on his journey. He's like, oh, that's why I learned this skill, or I picked these certain tools back in the Shire, or why I went through all these hardships that I didn't understand at the time is because there were going to be important parts to this journey that we're going on, right? And I think we're starting to come to a little bit more clarity, but we can also be going into still some doubts and confusion about where it all is with all this Piscean energy, really being asked to powerfully go through a lot of different healing right now with all of this energy on Chiron. That being said, I really want to tune into what's going on with Chiron for this whole month because it's going to be moving into Aries. I was talking about that earlier. And this is a powerful shift in transition. We really haven't experienced this energy in this way in any of our lives. Back when Chiron was discovered, the world was just in a much different place. And the last time there's been anything like this energy was in the 70s. And David Palmer talks about that in his report. So if we look at the 70s and what was going on, we can see, things are really weird at the beginning of the 70s. People getting into these weird kind of ways of dressing and acting, kind of going their own way. We just got out of this kind of like energy of the 60s, and the 70s was very just kind of like strange time. Weird looking cars and weird looking what do they call that, styles of clothing and weird musics, interesting, powerful, revolutionary music. Rock and roll came out and things like that. Very definitely like, okay, people are going on their unique path, and we're going to start to see more and more of that. Now, for starters, as we see Chiron going into Aries, the archetypes that have to do with Chiron and Aries are like, you can envision this warrior kind of with some wounds and gashes continuing to run through battle, where it's like the wounds are just kind of dripping and gushing blood, but he's in the middle of battle, so he doesn't have time, or she doesn't have time to really fully like patch those wounds. And this is what this is going to be about, is as we cross over into Aries with Chiron, this isn't about getting stuck and lost in our wounds anymore. This is about, cleaning off the wounds really quickly, or just getting back up and being like, well, I've got to move forward. It's time to grow up a little bit. I'm on this quest or this journey, and we're in the thick of it. So we don't have time to really just, spend moping about all this energy. And we're at the last bit of that. So we're being kind of called to transform some of that energy. So then we're going to move over onto Valentine's Day here. So let's check out Valentine's Day, the 14th. This definitely isn't going to be your typical Valentine's Day this month. We still have this conjunction, which we're still feeling over here with Mars and Uranus, and some more powerful things going on Valentine's Day. We have the sun that's moved on to the 30.2, of course, opposed to the Earth on the 29.2. I think what this is asking and just kind of pulling us towards is I can think we can really be motivated to a lot of new different things on the 14th. But we're really trying to also stay balanced because with the 30 is all about saying yes to life. The 29 and the 30 are all about this kind of like passionate desire, motivation to just kind of like try everything. The 29th says yes, and it's this experiential energy where once we say yes, we're just kind of like in it, right? And we can't really look back, and we're following through the pattern or the experience till the end. So this is about, calculating our decisions in a way where we're, following and tuning into our own authority, where we can really be motivated to try so many new and different things. But I think what we want to be looking at is this change, is these things that we're looking into, what good are they going to do? What kind of like higher purpose are they going to have? And moderation is really like key at this time because we're on this new quest and this journey, and this journey is going to be a pretty long one. So it's kind of like saying, do we really need to stop and smell all the flowers, or can we stop and get a little bit of rest and enjoy a nice like pool drink of water and keep going on this journey? And I think what this can also manifest as is a lot of people in situations vying for energy and attention, and it's only being able to give energy to the most important things that are really going to do the most good for us and the collective in general. Because again, this is in Aquarius, so this is all about that what's best for our service in life, right? So the next thing that we have is the moon over here in Gemini that's going to be opposed to Jupiter. And so this is another aspect kind of saying something similar to where the sun and the earth are. It's just like so many choices. The moon's on the 45.4 here opposed to Jupiter on the 26.4. What this is saying is like so many choices. It's really good to focus on the ones that are going to be in line with our higher principles and just to forget about the rest of the things, especially with Jupiter's placement. This is saying like, once we choose those things that are going to be in alignment, like forget about the rest of the stuff. Don't dwell on it because there's such a bigger picture unfolding here that we just can't possibly take on all of the stuff that comes to us. And I think that's maybe going to be a little bit tricky at this time, but if we listen to what our heart's saying, that message that our heart is really calling us forward to, I think it's going to come through. We just really have to tune in. We also have Pisces that is going to be in conjunct Pallas Athene over here. So that energy that I was talking about earlier, Pisces on this last degrees of Libra, very much about like balancing our relationships and things like that. In conjunct is somewhat of a difficult energy. And Pallas Athene is also about to go retrograde. So this could be kind of like a difficult day of we're going through some of those transformations around these inner wounds and things like that. Powerful energy for potential like conflicts around balance of material resources in our life. Our relationship to money can come up, our relationships to money and partnerships. With Chiron and Pisces is also going to ask us to really, is going into Aries. So like I said, it's asking for us to recover quickly from our wounds and our sensitivities and realize that these are the last pieces of like a darker unconscious energy surrounding our self-value and our worth being removed before we're starting on this new path. That being said, I want to tune into Chiron's placement here on the 25.1, which it will be on the 25.1, both in Pisces and Aries, but it's going to take on a little bit different expression. And the 25 this is like the myth of the sacred wound. So this is a powerful code that goes very deep into unwinding the wound around our genetic structure, that place inside where we just kind of feel this constriction, where we don't quite feel connected to the universe. As we kind of like separate from the source, as we like embody upon conception, there's this kind of place within our body, our kind of like core wound, that there's this constriction of energy. And the 25 in general is just about what it means to be in a physical body in a material world, and the fact that that kind of creates this wound wound around our DNA in the spiral, right? And in the shadow, this is about like this constriction that can be in our breathing pattern, where we just don't really feel connected to life. And this has to do with also like materialism, our relationship to money and how that's interconnected, and uh, whatever we use as a store of value, whether this is, we can look at this as money in general, right? Because on this plane, right, as a collective organism, money, whether you're talking about Bitcoin or dollar bills or credit cards, there's a way to transfer energy in between people in this reality, right? As a collective organism, just like in a body, we use neurotransmitters and different chemical messages, and that goes on here too. But in the society, the way that we have it set up, there has to be a way to transfer energy to move things around society, and we have money for that. And so this is all about our relationship to that energy, in feeling okay with that constriction that we have in our body and changing our relationship to it. This is also the gift of this energy. It has to do with an acceptance of love on a deep level, acceptance of love from ourselves, from our higher self, from the collective. The highest level of this energy is universal love. And a universal love in the sense of where it's like, even a love for materiality in such a deep level, where we realize that everything around us is really the blood of the universe. This is a cosmic egg in a womb that we're inside of. So even these physical objects in our life, they've come from the earth, they've come from the universe, and we can have like an equal love of them in the material world as we can for like spirit, people we care about. Everything here really is, it's just all one organism. And this is like a powerful time to transform our energy and relationship to that energy. Now, being on the 25.1 is a very specific aspect of this, where it has to do with like selflessness and having action without a certain motive. And I think we're transforming our relationship around that energy with it being in Pisces. Of course, we're confused and using our imagination to look deep within ourselves and what our relationship to that is. And then as it goes into Aries, it's really asking us to kind of like leap forward into this kind of like innocence, or just this higher spirit, where this has to do with like where we put our energy into the physical world, into what we're passionate about, because that's its own reward, right? We don't have this mind motive of necessarily like, what's in it for me? How's it going to work out? Like, if we put energy into what we are passionate about, where the energy is flowing, then we will be graciously rewarded for those things. And that's this higher teaching, and all this where this Chiron's going through is like, it's when we get into those things that we're just begrudgingly kind of like doing, we hate them, or we think we have to, the mind comes in, the programming and condition, we're like, I have to do that or else, or I don't really want to be doing that. When we put our energy into our inner authority, our creative aspects, our passions, and we tune into that aspect of ourself, this is that channel or flow of energy from the universal organism. And by tapping into that place within, then that currency, that cash, whatever it is, that store of value comes through the universe in perfect timing and sync, because we're connected to that channel, that creative energy within us that comes through our inner authority and making those decisions. That's that channel of energy from the universe. So we have to kind of like stay in balance with that in order to receive in this way that that we're giving into the world. Now, let's go ahead and tune back into February 14th for a second. Pull back up all my notes. Oh, and no, that being said, this is where I was going to go ahead and take a break. I gotta gather a few more things in my notes, rehydrate here, but I have something special for you all. I've been talking about diving into these codes. I talked about the 49 in the inner revolution that we're going through this month. And that's kind of also why I'm honoring this 49th code with releasing a new step in the self illumination pathway. And those of you that aren't familiar with the self illumination path, it's on this link that I have down here. So this is a powerful synthesis of how to directly work with these codes in this kind of inner alchemical method where we can move through this sort of inner revolution, transforming our relationship to these codes and these energies and tapping deeper and deeper into ourselves and our alignment and our inner authority. And so I'm just going to go ahead and share this really powerful video that I made kind of illustrating how all of this works. See you soon.
For centuries, humans have been exploring states of higher consciousness and awareness, seeking to understand the deeper mysteries and meaning locked away within themselves, within nature, and the cosmos. In truth, the pressure of knowing and understanding these mysteries, and the connection and interconnectivity of all life, has been the central theme within what it means to be human. This is the human story and journey. Many cultures around the world have been using codes and symbols to navigate the internal territory of the human psyche. Shamans used animal totems and other various languages and symbols to navigate this space to heal themselves, tribe members, or entire groups within their communities. The ancient Sumerians, Egyptians, and every known culture we have has used these symbols and codes to navigate the space of the inner world, the inner universe, and the psyche. Carl Jung, the famous psychologist and mystic, was the first in the mainstream to discover that there is an anatomy not only of our physical bodies, but also of the psyche. These blueprints of the psyche are called archetypes, a hidden universal language and pattern that everything is built on. It was after years of thousands upon thousands of sessions psychoanalyzing clients that Carl Jung really began to explore astrology. After truly understanding this ancient art, he discovered that he could find out more of the same information about his clients in only a couple hours looking into their astrology charts, as he could spending years in any other methods that he had used. He saw what many ancient cultures had known all along: the complete and total interconnectivity of everything that exists. The famous axiom, as above, so below, or as within, so without. The celestial bodies, like the organs and glands of the solar system, moving in synchronistic timing and rhythm with the chemicals moving through our individual glands, organs, and DNA, and then radiating out to the collective body of humanity and every organism within the earth itself, all following the same universal spiral patterns based on the golden mean, the same patterns we see present all the way down to the cellular structures and on up into the galaxies. When our electromagnetic energy exits the ethers upon conception, embodying into physical matter, there is a snapshot or an imprint, a record of the archetypal patterns that we carry within us to work through and overcome by embracing and embodying them within our lives. Like a builder following its blueprints for a house, within the womb and as we grow, these imprints pull us to exactly the situations in which we will build the body and the psyche based upon these archetypal patterns. Lunar rhythms moving chemicals throughout their cycles within our mother, building our bodies in ways exactly in sync with that imprint of time. As children, our psyches are wide open. Science calls these pathways of consciousness and awareness sensory gating. As we grow older, trauma, programming and conditioning of our external environments start to restrict our gating and solidify our neural pathways to act repeatedly in the same ways, closing us off from higher aspects of ourselves because we either associate them with pain from trauma or they were deemed to no longer be needed and unimportant. The beauty of this closing off of our higher and more authentic nature is that it does follow a pattern, like a trail of breadcrumbs that we have to follow to regain these lost aspects of ourselves. The methods to go back within and regain our totality and our ability as co-creators are what is at the heart of every mystical and initiatory system that we have. Thanks to systems like human design and gene keys, we now have incredible tools that give us a map to follow, back through the spirals of our DNA, nervous systems, and through our inner universe that can allow us to consciously go within and reprogram what no longer serves us and gather back these lost pieces of energy. The alchemists took yet another powerful approach. They discovered, since all things have a fractal correspondence to one another, the plants and minerals can also be used as tools to access these patterns and corresponding chemicals within our body to further assist our path to embodiment and reprogramming. Synthesizing these and other systems, we arrive at the self-illumination path, a synthesis of esoteric systems, sciences, alchemy, meditation, and other practical tools to assist one on this modern journey to embracing our myths and fully embodying our highest potential here in this life, into the heart of radical self-acceptance.
Well, we are here again. I hope you all enjoyed that little tune into the self-illumination path. If you all want to check it out, it's free information synthesizing all these different codes and how we can really alchemically work with the plants and different sacred plant medicines and teachers alchemically, so we can tune into working through some of these codes within ourselves down deep into our genetic structure and transform our relationship with them. Free information. If you're into it, I highly recommend checking it out. soulmapping.life/self-illumination-path. And yeah, so that being said, I talked about earlier this month where the 49, the sun's going to be on the 49. And the way this all kind of works is as the planets go through these different codes that we're talking about here, they kind of work like these interesting sort of filters or reflectors where depending on what codes that we have active in our charts or the ones that we don't have active, they come and they go in and they define these different codes and they move through the different relationships to the genetic structure. And what they kind of do is they reflect back to us these different angles of energy as the planets move through those codes where they filter the neutrinos in different ways so that we can kind of go through these transformations within ourselves and our relationship to that code and how it's going to express itself in our genetics, in our internal environment. And with the sun moving through the 49, which I'm about to release the 49, which is the second level of the self-illumination path. It's going to be released in the next couple days here. With the sun on the 49, this is going to be an extra powerful time to tune into that code and work through that energy. Now, that being said, as you can see with the sun that's moving its way through Aquarius, we also have other times to tune into these codes. Of course, the moon goes through every code in the entire 64 structure every month. It goes all the way around, and there's other times where different planets are in different codes, and we can work with those energies. But in particular, the self-illumination path is a powerful set of codes that has to do with the archetypes that we go through in awakening. So just, yeah, I highly recommend tuning into it, and we've got a lot of great information that's there, of course, for free. So the next thing we're going to do is tune into February 18th. So just go ahead to February 18th here. All right, Monday, February 18th. So we have the sun that's coming to the end of its time in the 30. It'll be on the 30.6 and it will be opposed to the earth on the 29.6. This is where we're really trying to balance the discipline to manage and maintain the things that are really working for us with an immense amount of momentum, trying to push us forward into just a whole slew of different things, right? Like we talked about this on the 14th, we had the start of that energy kind of coming in on the 30.1 and 30.2, and now at this end where the point six is really all about trying to kind of like transcend, move on to the next thing. And in order to do that, we need that kind of discipline to maintain and manage that energy. Even though we have so much forward momentum on so many things going on in the 18th, now we just kind of really have to manage and have the discipline not to just kind of like jump on them all, right? Chiron does enter into Aries now on the 20th. And of course, this is going to be another powerful shift. And I think that's what is also going to be asking for us to have a little bit of discipline, because with Chiron moving into Aries is asking for us to transform our energy around starting things, right? Because Aries is all about starting new things. And with Chiron now in this energy, we're being asked to heal issues around our identity and initiating things, starting different things, kind of being a little bit all over the place, but it's surrounded that 25th code that we talked about earlier. Now, with things so fast and shifting, even though we may really not feel like that we have the strength, we're just going to need to be able to kind of like pick ourselves up and move forward despite the wounds maybe not being fully yet processed from a lot of the stuff that we're still experiencing, or maybe that we dealt with kind of going into this month in this powerful transition that we're on. Now the sun has entered the 55th code in Pisces as well, where Mercury was earlier in the month. I talked about, and I think the levels of freedom that we're experiencing at this time could feel a little bit bittersweet, kind of like calling us to really embrace our new identity. Despite, like I said, some of those wounds may still be coming up and have this kind of like interesting processing going on. And once again, like I said, this self illumination path I'm providing this first level for free is really helpful to be able to move through some of these powerful internal states. So definitely recommend at least checking it out. It's free, so it can't hurt, right? Venus is making a conjunction with Saturn, and this is going to be a little bit of a rough energy. Venus does not really like Capricorn in general all that much, and it doesn't really appreciate conjuncting Saturn. And this is some interesting relationship stuff that we could be going through. Venus is going to be on the 54.3 and Saturn's going to be on the 54.2. And I think our relationships can be tested by a lot of different hardships, whether it's through distance, money, society, really pushing us to be kind of like creative in creating something better for ourselves, right? Like, and I think that's part of it too. Like, there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff coming around money and relationships and redefining our ideas of relationships, especially long-term relationships that we want to last a long time, because Saturn in Capricorn and Venus in this energy have so much to do with relationships that are really going to be good for us in the long term, or ones that we've already had going for a long time. I think this is also asking us to look into alternative means to keep the ones that are worth fighting for going. So this could be like, if let's say you're separated by someone you love from a distance, it's like, well, you got to get on a little bit phone calls more than often, Zoom, maybe some texting, whatever it is. And we got to allow time and distance to really test the integrity of our relationships and to the loyalty. And just, we have to just trust and allow those things to just kind of play out. Mercury is also conjunct Neptune on the 63.4, and Neptune will be on the 63.5. And I think what this is really saying is, we're looking back on what we've worked on in the past and allowing it to continue to kind of like serve new beginnings. This is a great time to start new meditation practice, maybe lucid dreaming, spiritual writing, channeling insights into creative art projects. Definitely a great time to get into something like that. The sun is also sextile Uranus. So This is pretty powerful energy for forward motion, and Uranus is moved onto the 3.4. Uranus has been on the 3.3 for a long time, and moving on to the 3.4 is going to totally shift this dynamic of energy. And I think what this is asking us, calling us towards, is the discipline to really recreate ourselves, attracting new guidance that we need to be able to reinvent who we are, our dreams, this kind of unique direction that we're going on. The 3.4 is all about like kind of seeking out guidance or really attracting the guidance that we need to kind of like ascend to those higher levels or jump on these new journeys or reinvent ourselves. The moon is also going to be in a trine with Jupiter. So this is a helpful energy. I think this is more about attracting those right allies and guidance to allow us to kind of like spread our message. Jupiter still being on the 26 over here. And this can really help us to understand what our hearts want to share and really, connecting with people that are going to, like I said, allow us to get better at that. This could also be like connecting with people that are great for like branding, design, logos, sales, things of that nature that can kind of help us get to that next level with those things. Then we're going to be going to February 19th. We have the sun that's moved on to the 55.1. The earth is on the 59.1. And I think we can be breaking down a lot of barriers in ourselves at this time in our relationships. This is going to be a really a much more connective day. I think the 19th is really going to be powerful for a lot of things, breaking down barriers around true intimacy in relationships. Really, the 59 is all about intimacy and kind of like really connecting on a very intimate level. And this could be kind of freedom to really express and be who we are and bring those things to attention. Also, this could be a great day with Mercury conjunct Neptune. Again, this could be a great day to bring attention to those barriers that we have and maybe that are going on in relationships before they become conflictive rather than awaiting and allowing them to play out. The 59 is connected to the 6 that has to do with like conflicts and diplomacy. So this is all about really just being transparent and really just talking about those things before they're going to really be an issue. I think the full moon in Virgo on the 59.1 is just going to highlight more of that energy, really a deep level of true intimacy with ourselves, other people. The moon is going to be trining over to Mars here. And, Mars is on the 27.2 in this trine. So this is like really asking us if we need to, do we need to be the one to lead in order to nourish the project or relationship? Do we need to make the first move? Do we need to be that one that brings the attention to things to allow for more transparency and intimacy that we're talking about? In order to give, though, in this relationship or this situation, we need to have to be able to give, right? Like we can't give things we don't have, and this type of energy is highlighted as well. Pallas Athene is now retrograde, still opposed to Uranus and Libra. I think it can be hard to kind of to balance our new values of who we are and our desire to be self-sufficient, because Pallas Athene is all about being self-sufficient in our energy, and we're trying to like balance bringing things into balance in our relationships and also being self-sufficient. And of course, we're talking about being able to only give what we have. That's more so like highlighting this energy is like we want to create balance and harmony, but it's like we also have to take care of ourselves, right? Then we have we're going to move over to the 20th of February. Let me see, I think it was the 20th I wanted to talk about. Oh no, that was the 19th. No, the 20th, yeah. So in the 20th, we're finally going to feel this shift where the nodes are going to move off of the 360 channel. Well, the south node moving off of the 60. The nodes are going to move on to new codes. So this is much different energy, entirely new shift. As we were talking about before here, that 360 channel that we have won't be highlighted anymore. So this is like a lot of this powerful mutation period that we've had being through. And I'm not saying that mutation is over, because mutative codes are always going on within ourselves and in the environment, but this kind of like shift to ascend things to a higher order, restructure our lives in all these new ways. This is going to be shifting its dynamic. And the nodes are going to be moving on to the 60. Let's see, make sure I get this correct. The north node will be on the 62.6 and the south node being on the 61.6, where we're going to be starting to feel this conjunction with Pluto in the south node really intensely as well. And what this is all about, whenever the nodes shift, right? The nodes, once again, if we go back to this chart here, see how this is like this spiral of energy that we have. You saw in that video too, the spiral of energy moving through these DNA codes. We have this Taurus-like energy ascending through our body, going both ways in opposite directions. And the nodes are really kind of the overall direction that we're headed. And it's kind of the direction that the energy is spiraling through, right? And so with the nodal shift, this is like the whole environment of energy that we're in, just kind of like shifting. So it's kind of like if we're subtly aware of the energy, we just kind of see that the people and things that are going on are different. And there will be this whole shift in the dynamic of energy. Now, whether or not we hop on the things in that direction, that's up to our personal authority. And I've tuned into some talks where Ra talks about this, and he says, like for example, when we have certain codes going on, this could be like where all of a sudden we see everybody's jumping on a new bandwagon of technology, and then we have to tune into our own authority to know, is that new direction, is that new technology good for us? And if we make decisions that are out of alignment, we can see after the nodes shift again, we can like look back and either see like, oh, well, I should have got on that bandwagon. It was good for me to start using those new technologies in that new way. Or we go the other direction. We say, no, like now that I'm in all this technology stuff, I wish I hadn't made that decision because I missed the personal connection. So when the nodes have this shift, the environment changes in this very noticeable, kind of like palpable way. And we have to tune into our own authority to make those decisions and whether or not we need to kind of jump on these things. Now, the 61.6 and the 62.6 are this is about having, appealing to appealing the truth that we've learned, because the 61 where Pluto is right now and where the south node's moving, this is all about going to the deepest dives within our own personal truth and seeing these kind of like mysteries of what's true to us and our unique perspective. And if we're going to be able to take those truths and attune to the collective and being able to use those truths to share our inspiration and really shift the direction of the collective in this way where we're using our perspective to kind of, take everyone and be like, hey, look at this. This is my unique truth and perspective. This could be helpful for you or not. And, with the 62.6 being where the north node is, this is saying that in order to share those truths in this way, we're really going to have to pay attention to these small little details. It's like, uh, you know, we can't just express our truth and expect everyone to understand. If we really want to shift the perspective of people that we come in contact with, it's important to pay attention to the right details and get across that message in this very unique way. And I'm going to read this quote from Ra here about this nodal environment that we're talking about. It says, there's this deep need that I can feel out there where people want underlying principles. They want to find the excellence in life. That the person standing beside you doesn't necessarily see all of that, right? Those unique perspectives that we have. And yet, what they see is a differentiated truth because these are all angles of the same energy that we're experiencing, right? Like those planets moving through these different codes, they're all different angles in the same truth, right? And it's not about one or the other being right. It's about whether or not those things are correct for us or those other people. Now, and then of course, we end up with an understanding that there's this vast spectrum of perspective. And that's really what life's all about. And it's about us being able to get into the details so that we can share them with the people that it is correct for. So this is a powerful shift that we have going on in this year. So I'm sure we're going to see a lot of stuff with this in political, spiritual scene, a lot of different interesting, almost like truth battles coming in. We've already been seeing this in different ways, but I think we're going to see more of this where People are just going to kind of narrow into their own groups and realize that, it's not about being right or whatever. It's just about us sharing our truth and gathering together the people that support us and harmonize with us. Next, we have, we're going to get into February 22nd. Okay, here. So February 22nd, uh, we have the sun moving on now to the 55.4, which means the Earth sun of 50, what is it? 50, the 22, no, sorry, 59.4. Sorry, I'm not used to doing this show live. There's so many different windows going on with so many things. And this has to do with uplifting our spiritual connections, more barriers dropping to allow kind of like an interesting brotherhood and sisterhood to form in our lives. This is the 22nd's a great day to really connect on a deep level with new groups of people, interesting situations. We have the Venus Pluto conjunction on the 61.2. Of course, we have that nodal shift now. So this is all about this direction that we may or may not be leading into. And this could be extremely powerful and deep connections that inspire our truth and assist us on our new path to influence the collective, really connecting with like a brother sisterhood, like a tribal type of feeling of people that really resonate with us on a very, very deep level. This can also be like relationships coming in, one-on-one intimate relationships that we feel deeply connected to, allow to drop all those barriers of ourselves or others. This could be a great day for like a ceremony, kind of connecting on that level. But we want to be careful of this energy because the Venus conjunct Pluto could be like where energies come in around like cheating on partners or the other way around. If we're single, this could be a transit that's not the most fun because there's going to be a deep kind of feeling within us where we just have this need for a deep intimate connection, and this could kind of like motivate us to connect with the wrong type of people or the wrong type of relationship. I think if we're in this situation, maybe it's good to, again, maybe be in a ceremony, connect with somebody more on a spiritual level. Really, like I said, at the end of the day, it's all about following your own authority and feeling what's really good for you. Now, Venus is going to be in a sextile to Mercury conjunct Pluto as well. So, with Mercury on the 22.5, this is an excellent time to be very direct and open with others. Almost like creating a music with our friends or intimate partners. It's excellent time for ceremonies, but being clear and direct in that message, and also realize that our moods can really filter and shift what's going on in our life, and this can cloud how we're hearing things, right? The 22 is all about this wave of emotional energy and really being able to tune into the universal music and harmony that's going on. So this is about making sure also that we're clear in our communication. If we are getting in one of those deep, intimate relationships, we may want to check in with ourselves and be kind of clear about some of our boundaries, maybe what's going on into the future. Maybe this isn't, our normal self and who we always are, something to that effect. We have Mercury that's going to be in the square with Jupiter, though. I think what this is saying is that we could be so attractive in our own message right now that we can kind of welcome unwanted attention. And that's going a little bit back more to being kind of clear and direct, right? It's like we can be so excited about life and our new journey and what we're doing in the moment that we could attract some unwanted attention or maybe connections that really aren't in alignment for us. We also have the moon that's going to be in a square to Saturn over here, and this is Saturn on the 54.3. And we want to trust our intuition around those who are kind of coming our way. Are they right for us? What are their motives and ambitions? Is it something that's really going to last? That's something that may come up at this time. And finally, the moon is going to be making a sextile over to Jupiter, though. So this is a great time to spread our message and our brand and our hearts, uh, what's going on deeply within our heart. But it's, like I said, it's important to have discernment in all of that. And the final day that we're going to go over here is the 23rd of February. And finally, we have this moon conjunction going on with Pallas Athene, opposed to Uranus over here. That's at the end, the 29th degree of Aries. So this is, Pallas Athene is retrograde. And I think that we may have some sudden shifts and changes in what we value on this path. This is going to happen on the 50. Once again, the 50 is all about being able to create harmony in our environment and really knowing our own value and what's of value in our life. And I think we could have unexpected, powerful visions, relationship shifts going on, reinventing who we are, and new guides coming in to help us with that. Maybe this is like a message from a guide or a connection coming in, being like, yo, what are you doing? Is this really what you want? And maybe you have a vision or a download and being like, no, this isn't what I want. Okay, I'm going to go off in this direction. And that's most of what we have going on for February. These are, of course, the major transits and different things that we're going through. Now, at the very beginning of March, Uranus is going to come into Taurus. And I'm not going to get into that right now. You're going to have to tune into the March report, but this is going to be another powerful shift right at the beginning of March. March is going to be a pretty wild month overall. Very interesting things that we're going to be moving through. February, definitely this kind of like last big push forward with not only the 360 channel that we talked about, all this mutative energy going on, but also with Uranus coming through Aries, moving into Taurus, Chiron moving into Aries, and all these planets in their home signs, these big powerhouses being in their home sign. So this next week that we have in through some of February, kind of this last powerful forward motion energy. When we get into March, we start to have some retrogrades again, new interesting shifts. So definitely recommend taking advantage of this transits at this time. This is definitely a powerful time to make some changes. I hope this has been helpful for you. As I said before, definitely tune into the self-illumination path if it feels something that's in alignment with you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a beautiful month, and I can't wait for the next report. Oh, one more thing. I didn't even do the reading for this month. I have to tune into these cards to see, what's the overarching energy that we can kind of like tune into and uh, tap into to help us move through some of these powerful transits this month. Can't forget the card. And gate 2, the receptive and creative. So I think what this is trying to say is, first of all, for starters, in all of this, wherever we are in life, we have to know that we're always in the right place at the right time. And our authority is going to tell us if it's time to move out of that place. This is all about a new direction that we're going on, being sensitive and allowing for messages to come in and things to really harmonize in our environment. The 2 is all about our location and feeling that we're in the right place and knowing that our higher self connects us to being in the right place at the right time, as long as we're tuning into our own inner authority. So, hope this has been helpful for you. As always, tap into your innermost authority, see if it feels right for you. And thanks for tuning in to the Astral Weather Report.